Hello and welcome to TriggerTech's instructional video on how to install your new trigger into an Excalibur crossbow. This video will cover the installation process for the Matrix series crossbows as well as all other models. Please take a moment to read the installation instructions prior to watching the remainder of this video, and under no circumstances are you to take your trigger apart. Before we begin, let's talk about the workspace and the tools required. First, it's best to work on a clean tabletop so no parts are lost. Second, some of the fasteners on your crossbow will be discarded and replaced with the ones we supply, so keep them separate. Next, you're going to need several Allen keys. We suggest using a standard Allen key multi-tool. TriggerTech has supplied a 3/32 Allen key along with the needed hardware. It helps to lay everything out nicely so nothing is lost along the way. Now you're ready to dismantle your crossbow. So, let's begin. In order to protect your optics during trigger installation, we advise that you remove them prior to disassembly. The scope mount is held in place by 4 screws, all of which are going to need to be removed. Use the 3/32 Allen that was provided in the TriggerTech box. These screws are Loctited in, so it can be a bit tough to break the bond, and there is a risk of stripping the socket, so make sure to press down firmly while you're turning. These screws won't be reused, and they can be removed from your workspace. Make sure to place your optics somewhere safe where they won't get drop tested. Now we need to remove the stock from the main frame. Turn your bow upside down. You'll see 2 screws. One of them is on the forestock. The second screw on most models is right in front of the lever and within the trigger guard. These screws require a 1/8 Allen to remove, and they're the only ones that will be reused. Be sure to keep them with your new fasteners. You can now remove the stock from the rail. Place a hand on the rail in front of the stock. Your other hand should be behind the grip. Don't lift the stock up from the forestock position. Begin lightly pulling up with your hand that's behind the grip. Now it's time to remove your current trigger from the rail. It's held in place by 2 screws, as you can see here and here. During this step, you want to be careful not to bend your lever. We recommend that the safety be in the fire position so the lever can move freely. Using the 9/64 Allen, loosen the 2 screws holding the trigger to the rail. The screws can be left in place. They can be accessed after the trigger is removed. Now, gently pull the trigger assembly out of the rail. You can now take the 2 screws we left in the rail and discard them. Now, if you're using the Guardian anti-dry fire found on the Matrix models, or you've purchased it separately, your hold-down spring is attached to the scope mount, so you get to skip the next couple of steps. If you're not using a Guardian, you need to transfer the hold-down spring to your new trigger. Use the supplied 3/32 Allen wrench and unscrew the 2 fasteners holding the spring on. These can both be discarded. The rubber damper should stay with the spring. It gets reused with your new trigger. Now, using the screw supplied, install the same hold-down spring on your new trigger. All of our triggers have a sticker over the top of the hole that you need to screw the 8/32 by 3/16 fastener into. This screw must go here for successful installation. It goes into the base of the spring, and the 5/16 screw goes into the hole closest to the front of the trigger. Next, we need to fasten your lever to your new trigger. If you purchased a new lever, then you can leave the stock one on your old trigger. Otherwise, remove it and discard the screw. Here, we're using our red TriggerTech lever. With your new trigger, align the base of the lever with your sear and with the finger groove facing the front of the trigger. Use the 6/32 by 1/2 inch screw and tighten until snug. Do not over-tighten. Now we're ready to install your new trigger. Locate the two supplied 8/32 by 3/4 screws and be sure that there's a split washer on each one of them. Place the screws inside the rail where the trigger will soon be seated. For the one furthest from the opening, use an Allen key to help position it in the rail. Now take the trigger assembly and align it with the slot in the rail. Hold the rail firmly and slowly pull the trigger into position, watching the lever as it clears the slot. Do this until the trigger is flush and seated. Use the 9/64 Allen key to tighten the two screws that hold the trigger in place. Now flip the bow over and check that the trigger is seated correctly. There's an inner channel that the trigger has to sit between. This can be a tight fit, but the trigger must sit flush for the installation to be successful. It's also important to ensure the latch area is flush with the rail and that no part of the lower string channel is sitting above it. If your trigger is not seated properly in the rail, just click this link and you'll be directed to a troubleshooting guide. So we're now ready to put the stock back on. We recommend that the safety be in the fire position. When putting the stock in place, be careful not to obstruct the lever. Take your stock and align the lever with the slot in the trigger guard. Carefully press the stock down onto the rail. If there's a gap at the back, just tap the butt of the stock until it mates cleanly. Now locate the two stock screws that we saved at the beginning and put the longer of the two in the forestock hole. The shorter goes into the back by the trigger guard. Tighten these two screws down until snug using your 1/8 Allen wrench. Don't over tighten, as this can strip the threads in the rail. Now we're ready to reinstall the scope mount. Align the scope mount with the 4 screw holes on the side of the trigger. Remember, if you have a matrix model or are using a Guardian anti-dry fire on other models, the hold-down spring will be attached to the scope mount, and you will not use 2 screws that we supplied. Now gently thread the 4 8/32 by 5/16 until snug. There you have it. You now have the finest precision trigger available for a crossbow, and you're ready to go out and shoot. Remember, you have a new trigger and have dismounted your optics. Make sure to take your first shots at close range. It may take several shots to get used to your new, crisp, zero creep release, and you may need to sight in your scope. Thanks for watching, and safe shooting.